This is Anastasia Gresham, a popular OnlyFans model, TikToker, and adult film actress. One day, Nicole, who was Anastasia's cousin, messaged her to check on how she was doing. Anastasia replied that she was fine and was preparing to go to South Korea. Nicole had no idea that the person she was talking to wasn't Anastasia. Anastasia's dead body had been lying there for days, stabbed 22 times. The person Nicole was speaking with was actually Anastasia's killer, who had been living in her house pretending to be her, using her phone and managing her social media accounts, as well as communicating with her friends and relatives. Who was this mysterious killer, and what was the shocking reason behind Anastasia's murder? Let's dive into the case of Anastasia Gresham. In August 2022, a woman called the police station, saying she believed something bad had happened to Anastasia. She gave the police Anastasia's flat address in St. Petersburg, and then disconnected the call. By the time the police arrived at Anastasia's house, the killer had already fled. The police entered the flat and found several empty room freshener bottles. They also found a half-packed suitcase, as Anastasia had been preparing to travel to South Korea. Then they noticed a trail of blood leading to the bathroom. Following the trail, they found Anastasia's decomposing body in the bathtub, emitting a strong odor. She had suffered multiple injuries to her neck and abdomen. The police were horrified by this brutal murder and realized the killer was highly methodical. After killing Anastasia, the killer didn't move the body, but instead waited for it to decompose. The killer had tied up all the curtains, blocked all the pipes, and used excessive amounts of room freshener to mask the smell. To prevent the smell from spreading outside, the killer cleverly covered all their tracks. They knew that Anastasia was quite popular on social media, so they maintained her online presence. Anastasia had been murdered a week earlier, and for an entire week, the killer made sure no one noticed her absence. In fact, after killing the victim, the killer sold her expensive personal belongings online, making a considerable amount of money. With these initial details, the police began their investigation. Anastasia's mysterious death caused a significant stir in Russia, where she was regularly invited as a guest on top TV shows to talk about her life. The police were under immense pressure to solve this case quickly. The call that brought the police to Anastasia's house came from her friend, but no strong leads were found. Further investigation revealed that Anastasia didn't have good relationships with anyone. She often fought with her mother and relatives because they didn't approve of her career as an OnlyFans model. Anastasia felt this was hypocritical because, despite their disapproval of her career, they still sought financial support from her. Their arguments had become more intense over time. After Anastasia's murder, her mother took a shocking action. In Russia, funerals are considered private and respectful affairs, even for top celebrities, and the media is usually not allowed. However, Anastasia's mother demanded money from TikTok influencers and media outlets, granting them permission to record the funeral. She even accepted payment from TV shows to discuss her daughter's scandals and bad behavior, as the media was willing to pay well for such stories. Anastasia came from a very poor family. Her father was an alcoholic, and this caused her to decide never to use any substances. When her mother stopped supporting her, Anastasia was pressured to earn money on her own at just 15 years old. She was an artist and used to draw tattoos in her sketchbook as a child. One day she tattooed herself, and while out at the market, someone asked if they could get the same tattoo and offered to pay her for it. That was her first earning, and she realized she had found her occupation. Anastasia began creating tattoos for people and covered 80% of her body with them to promote herself as a tattoo artist. However, after a few years, her earnings started to decline, and she began looking for other ways to make money. During this time, she was diagnosed with chronic depression and eating disorders, and her depression was reflected in some of her tattoos. Through a friend, she was introduced to the dark world of OnlyFans, where she started selling her photos and quickly became a sensation. She became a millionaire overnight, purchased several sports cars, and even found the love of her life, Dmitry. Anastasia began receiving invitations to various shows. On one of these shows, her mother and relatives harshly criticized her for everything. Her mother had cut ties with Anastasia the day she saw a video of Anastasia and Dmitry, who had both become adult movie actors. In July 2022, Anastasia planned to settle in South Korea, but she was murdered in August 2022. Since the killer sold Anastasia's luxurious possessions after her death, the police initially believed the murder was financially motivated. They decided to interrogate Anastasia's mother, but before the interrogation could happen, a woman visited the police station. She showed them deep bruises on her body, which was a disturbing sight. This woman revealed that Dmitry, Anastasia's husband, was abusive. He had violent tendencies and often physically hurt her, which is why she left him. She told the police she was certain that Dmitry was responsible for Anastasia's murder. He had access to all of Anastasia's phone and social media account passwords. The police found records of Dmitry's offenses in their database. As soon as they went to apprehend him, it became clear that he was the mysterious killer, as he had already fled. The police launched a nationwide manhunt, and when the media leaked that Dmitry was the prime suspect in the murder, people were shocked. Anastasia had often claimed on TV shows that Dmitry was always by her side, and that she never felt alone because of him. Finally, on August 10th, 2022, Dmitry was taken into custody. He confessed to the murder, but when the police asked him about his motive, he gave a bizarre and unsettling answer. He claimed that Anastasia suffered from severe depression and was mentally unstable. She wanted to end her life, but didn't have the courage to do it. So she made a pact with Dmitry. She allegedly asked him to kill her one day while she was in a deep sleep. The police considered this statement an insult, as Dmitry was trying to deceive them with such an unbelievable story. After further interrogation, Dmitry revealed the full truth. Initially, both he and Anastasia were getting good assignments, but after a while, Dmitry lost his job and began stealing money from Anastasia. He used the money to fund trips with a partner from his extramarital affair. When Anastasia found out, she was heartbroken. She'd already grown disillusioned with the dark side of OnlyFans and adult films. She believed in true love and the purity of marriage. After discovering Dmitry's betrayal, she decided to leave everything behind and moved to South Korea to start fresh. She regretted every decision she had made and rediscovered her passion for art. Anastasia planned to leave the adult film industry and become a tattoo artist again. She had even shortlisted a workspace in South Korea, as she had grown to despise her old life and was ready to begin anew. Anastasia wanted to start a new life. She had started living separately from Dmitry, but he would regularly come to her home and argue with her, fearing his source of income was about to end. After multiple arguments, when Dmitry saw her packing her suitcase and realized her decision was final, he appeared to accept the situation. He stopped pretending and genuinely seemed to make peace with this new reality. Anastasia even invited him to her place that night, and they had dinner together. During their conversation, Anastasia showed Dmitri a photo of another man and told him that she had met this man a few days ago. She shared that she was planning to move to South Korea with him. Anastasia explained that the man was decent, and even knowing about her past life, was ready to accept her. She was excited to start a normal, regular life with him. After their conversation, Anastasia went to sleep, telling Dmitri that he could stay the night if he wanted and leave in the morning. However, Dmitri couldn't imagine Anastasia with someone else. Despite both of them working in adult films, Anastasia had never worked with anyone besides Dmitri. As Anastasia slept deeply, Dmitri went to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and approached her. He held her head and began stabbing her neck. Her eyes opened, but only for the last time. He continued stabbing her body until he was certain she had passed away. After confirming she was no longer alive, Dmitri dragged her body to the bathtub. For the next week, he pretended to be Anastasia, deceiving everyone using her identity. However, while chatting with her friends, they began to grow suspicious. Some things didn't seem right, and he wasn't answering any calls. Eventually, Dmitri cleared all evidence and fled. Anastasia, who was about to enter a new phase of her life, had that future brutally taken away by Dmitri. For this crime, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison, but it's likely he will be released earlier.